We rolling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are doing this morning a video interview with Jennifer Hepker, and this is for the purpose of the Roots to Boots project, sponsored by the Dallas Jewish Historical Society. Jennifer, I'd like to talk with you about your family history, going forward to your present day status as a member of the Jewish community here in Dallas.
Okay.
So let's start with your telling us what you know about your grandparents, their lives in Europe prior to coming to South Africa.
Well, my maternal grandparents were actually, where they came from originally I don't know, they were actually born in England, and I'm not sure about the predecessor. My maternal were from Russia, paternal from England. I was born in England and left England just after the war. I think I was 8 or 9 years old, came to the United States, lived in Los Angeles for 2 years, and then went to South Africa.
And what was the decision to go from the United States to South Africa?
My father wasn't all that happy business-wise. My mother had a sister in South Africa, and she kept on saying, come, it's a wonderful country, and all the rest of it. And they decided that's where they were going to go. So basically, I grew up in South Africa. And then I went to school.
What city did you go to?
In South Africa, Johannesburg.
To Johannesburg.
And then I met Errol. And I always had the longing to come back to the United States. I'd been very happy here as a child. And we had all our family here, actually. All our family actually emigrated from England to America in the early years. So I had a lot of family in Los Angeles.
Let's talk about your childhood in South Africa. What type of a school did you go to?
I went to a regular government school. Difficult for me to start with the second language of Afrikaans, managed somehow. I went right through school there, and then I went on to college.
What was the Jewish community like?
Wonderful, wonderful. South African Jewish community is very close-knit, and we basically, I don't think I had one non-Jewish friend. It's just the way it was. It was a very, very close-knit Jewish community, and it was wonderful growing up there. It really was.
What type of business was your father in?
My father was in the jewelry business.
And was your mother working? Or
My mother never worked until we got to South Africa, and she decided she was bored. So at her age, she must have been then around about, 50s, her love of music. She went to work for a musical company, and she became a catalogue compiler. In those days, there was no computer or anything. She had to put everything down for the catalogue for people to look for what they wanted in their records and so on. And so she was there for many years, and she actually was very good at her job. My sister went into the record business, not singing or doing anything like that, but she was just working. I went to work for a very well-known radio personality at the time, and I wrote a lot of radio scripts. And
was this after going to college?
Yeah.
So where did you go to college?
I didn't actually go. I went to a modern methods secretarial college, and I decided that was enough for me, and I wanted to go straight into work. So I worked at a travel agency first, and then I went into broadcasting. And I worked there until we got married. So I had a wonderful experience. I met a lot of overseas singers and so on. So it was really good.
How did you meet your husband?
My close friend lived in an area where, just trying to think. My husband, actually, that's right, he was living in the area, and my friend moved in there. And he went to welcome her, and I was there. And then he'll probably tell you himself, he said, that's the girl I'm going to marry. Well, I wasn't so keen at the time, but we ended up we went, I think, for about 5 years, and then we got married. So that was how we met. And then we both decided to come to the United States. Things weren't going so well in South Africa.
In what way?
We could just see the climate changing.
You're talking about politics?
Politics and so on, yeah. And my mother was already living, she'd gone back to Los Angeles. She had remarried, funnily enough, an uncle of mine. And I got a green card. I had a green card before that. Then I got another green card. We got in very, very easily. We were very lucky. The business that Errol was in, they offered him a lot of positions. So we came in 1980. We looked around to see where we wanted to be. And at the time, everybody said, go to Dallas, it's booming. So we came to have a look, and Errol went in with his company, and so we came.
So what business is he in now?
A financial consultant.
Did you know people here in Dallas before
we knew a few people, yes. Not that many, but we were a few. Then we were here for 18 months. And one of the people that was in with the $1 Million Round Table, the insurance, they'd come here for one of the conventions in Dallas. And got talking to Errol, and they said, we'd be looking for you. We would like you to join us in England. And so started about 6 months of nagging and nagging and nagging for Errol to go over and see. So he went over and he spoke to them, and then he said, well, I still had a British passport, so I had no problems. And he could come on my passport. Long story short, we made the terrible mistake of going there. We lasted there 6 months. I hated every minute of it. It just didn't work out for us at all. So we came back again to...
Did you have children at this time?
Yes.
Oh, how many children did you have?
Three girls.
How old were they?
At that time, Debbie was 16, Jan was 14, and Kate was, I think, 8 or 9. It was hard for them.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard for them. And yet, in another way, it was good for them, because they saw a lot of different aspects of life. And so then we came back to Dallas and said, that's it, we're here. And then about 9 years ago, my husband suddenly got a craving. He wanted to be a great fisherman. He loves his boat. He decided maybe we should go with us to the ocean. We drove all the way from Dallas to Florida, looking to see where we'd like to go. We landed up in a place near Clearwater, bought a house, and lived there for 7 years. And then he had a boating accident. He couldn't walk up the stairs so easily anymore. And we decided, thank goodness, to come back to Dallas. So I've traveled a long way, a long way.
Well, let's go back to your first experience here in Dallas with the Dallas community. You said you knew a few people here in Dallas. Tell me how you felt about the Dallas community in general. Was it a welcoming experience in terms of the general Dallas community?
When we came, there weren't that many South Africans. There was still a lot. But when a South African arrived, everybody went overboard trying to make you feel comfortable, asked you for dinner, and it was great. It was really wonderful. Everybody knew everybody. And then you kind of picked your people who you know had more in common with. As the years went on and more people came, it just wasn't the same.
What about
it got really cliquey.
What about the community outside of the South African community? How welcoming were they?
Very, very. In fact, a couple of close friends, she's Jewish, he's not. We're still to this day the best of friends. A lot of the Americans, again non-Jewish, were wonderful to us. They've been fantastic, and we're still good friends with them. So they were very welcoming. South African community today, I don't know, we don't mix so much with them anymore.
What has changed?
I don't know really. I just feel that, how can I put it? Everybody's for themselves. They've got their own little cliques. And there's too much, it's like, if you remember Peyton Place, there's too much of this going around, unfortunately.
That is a shame.
It is a shame.
Did you become employed here in Dallas, or were you, what did you do with
Strangely enough, as much as I hated school growing up, I decided to go to college with a friend of mine, and I loved it. Then my husband needed me to help him, so I was working with him, and the college was over then. I wrote a few articles.
What was the subject?
The one was actually, it was a very strange story about, funny enough, about one of my animals, and it was published in one of the animal magazines.
What type of animal?
A cat. We're very into dogs and cats, very much. I mean, our house is a kennel more than a house, believe me. And I loved it. I loved English, I loved writing. It was, but he needed me in the, to help him, so that's where I was. And then when we went to Florida, I gave that up, and I work at home. I do some stuff at home for him.
Tell me about your interest in animals. How did you get there?
Ever since I was a little girl, I was always crazy for animals. And then growing up, I had one or two. But then Errol and I got married, and we got a dog, and then another dog, and then we got into showing dogs, breeding and showing dogs.
What breed were you interested in?
We had Rhodesian Ridgebacks, we had Whippets, and Dalmatians. And we had a greyhound as well. And so we had, puppies and all sorts of, my children grew up with all of them, and we went to every dog show in the world, and that just became also too much. And then when we came here, we brought 2 of our dogs with us. Lessons passed, and we got more dogs. So now we've got 3 greyhounds, 3 cats, and a macaw. Full house.
You do have a full house. So you have 3 children, did you say?
3 children. My eldest is Debbie. She is, oh goodness, 42. She's got 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy is 23, the girl's 18, going on, she should be 19 this month. And then I've got another daughter who lives in Florida. Her daughter's, please God, having a bat mitzvah next month. A 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, 2 girls. And then my youngest, Kate, she has got a little boy of 6 and a little girl of 5.
How much time do you get to spend with your family?
Not as much as I'd like to. They're running around doing their thing, and we're working also sometimes at home, but we do, like today I'm going to pick up my little granddaughter while we're here. My eldest grandson is crazy like us with the Dallas Cowboys. And every time that they have a game, he comes over and he sits with us and we watch together. It's wonderful. So we do, we have good times with them. We do.
When you were growing up in South Africa, were you involved in any Zionist youth groups?
For a short time, I was with, I think it was called B'nai Zion, just for a short time, but that was all. My mother was she was kosher. But during the war, it just was impossible. She tried as hard as she could, but she had to stand in lines to get food and stuff like that, shortages of food. So the kosher went. But we always had seders, wonderful seders together, and it was wonderful growing up with that with the family, with all the yontifs and stuff. That was good. So during the war, it was hard. It was hard. I mean, I ate, believe me, I had my first banana when I was 7, and I didn't know, and I ate it with the skin on.
I've heard those stories before.
Yeah, well, then when we came to the United States in 1950, 51, we went to a restaurant and my father ordered something. I think he ordered some watermelon. And in New York in those days, the watermelon was like, I'm off for watermelon. He said, no, just for one person. you know. He said, that is for one person, because we were on rations in England at the time. So it was quite an experience.
Sure.
It really was.
Sure.
But I've been trying to go back to a lot of the roots where, unfortunately, a lot of the family have since passed. But there's a cousin of mine in Los Angeles. She's got some more, facts that I need to, she's going to send to me. I did a bad thing. I should have spoken to my aunt before she passed away and got more information. And that's what we need to do.
Well, that's part of why we're doing this with you today. It's just that you can share this with your children and with the community in general.
Exactly. Because we leave things too late, unfortunately.
Are there things that you miss about South Africa?
The food.
Tell me more about that. Try to be as specific as you can.
The fish is wonderful there, and they prepare it so well. And it's just, I think sometimes it's the way they cook things. It's just good.
Can you
but
give me some examples?
You know, it's been a long time. I've never been back.
Oh, you haven't?
I've never been back. I have a sister there. Because of the business that Errol's in, we can't take too much time off. If we're away, he doesn't, get business. And we've done other things instead. Now that I'm getting older, the thought of that flight to South Africa does not appeal to me. My sister has been here a few times. But maybe we'll go next year, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
What type of fish did you have that was so special?
Well, there was the king clip, the cockle joe, and my husband used to fish, so we used to get the fish straight when he caught it, and we used to cook it. It was just, the fish was just so much nicer there, and I don't know what it is, it was just seemed to be better. I don't know, and just little things, some of the English cooking recipes and stuff like that. But I'm so used to being here now, it doesn't bother me.
Are there any specific traditions that you've brought with you that are unique?
Tradition is not, well, actually, there's a lot of the Jewish things that are just different here than they were there. My one son-in-law, we were sitting down at a yontif once and we were talking, I think my daughter was pregnant, and we were talking about a pigeon ben. And he said, and then the brother said, what is that? Is this one of your other South African made-up things? He just became more Jewish in the last couple of years. He was learning a lot of stuff. Little things like, I'm trying to remember the other little incidents. And they kept on saying, is that another South Africanism? Little things that were different. Definitely. Even a challah we called a kitka.
You just had a different name for it.
Yeah. Yeah, different names. And of course different expressions. I mean, I had to tell the children to be very careful how they said some certain words because they were different meanings here. So we had to be careful. And then when we first came, I spoke to somebody on the phone, I think it was about my telephone service, and I went into this whole long story, and there was dead silence. And I said, "Do you there?" She said, "Ma'am," she says, "I didn't understand one thing you were saying, but I just love to hear your accent." So today it's different. They seem to know more than they did in those days. They just couldn't understand what we were saying half the time.
Right.
You know? Little incidents that happened, which off the top of my head I really can't remember too much. Yeah.
Well, here in Dallas, have you had an opportunity to become involved in any community activities?
We have just recently, in the last 2 years, changed our shul, and I'm finding that a great experience.
Where are you affiliated
at
now?
Torah. I love the people there, the atmosphere there. We've done a few things with them that we hadn't really done before, and it's making me feel much better to do things there than I was previously. Yeah.
Okay.
So, in England, well, when we came to South Africa, my grandmother came from England and she was religious, and the shuls she wanted to go to, it was expensive, she couldn't afford it. and they wouldn't make any allowances for her to go.
Mm.
She used to have to daven at home, and that put me off a lot. That turned me a lot against it. I thought, if you've got to pay to pray, if a person's down and out or something, you know, it just turned me off. But as the years went by, I, you know, got over it. And now I'm just happy where we are right now.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So I do, you know, do what we can, and we're very involved with the dogs, you know, with the adoptions and stuff like that.
Oh, do you serve as fosters?
We can't foster because we've got too many, but we do with the greyhounds. We go, like on this Saturday, they have an adoption going on at PetSmart. We take our dogs there and we talk to people about adopting greyhounds, because it's very sad what they do to the greyhounds.
Yes.
So we try and get them homes, and so we're involved with the dogs.
That's a real mitzvah.
Well, we think it is. I
Yes,
mean, we really do. In fact, I always said if I won the lottery, I'd buy a big piece of ground and put kennels up and take in all the strays in the world.
I'm a dog person, so I can really relate to that.
Oh yes. What have you got?
I have a golden doodle.
A golden doodle. Oh, nice.
And
I know
I
those.
love him. He's just precious.
You only got the one?
I only have the one.
You need to get a greyhound.
Well, at this point, I don't need any more beings in my house, but I would consider it at some point. What else would you like to share? I mean, I've asked you some questions, but I'm sure there are things that maybe come to your mind.
I'm just trying to think. Look, I'm very happy we chose Dallas. I really enjoy it. I think it's a lovely, clean city, and I enjoy it. There's nowhere that's perfect, but we've moved around so much, I'm not moving ever again. This is it. And we're happy. We've got a nice little social life, and as I say, our animals and our TV, and we're just comfortable now.
What things would you like to leave in terms of a verbal legacy for your family that you might not have already told us?
Oh gosh, that's a question that's difficult to answer. I don't know really. I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't given it any thought. I'm afraid I'm just, at this moment, my mind's blank.
Well, you've been a terrific person to speak with this morning. I'm glad that I got a chance to know you.
Well, I am too. It's just, it's nice, and I should have been more prepared actually with a few more.
You were perfect. You answered all of my questions. You knew what you wanted to talk about.
Well, I'm glad it went well.
You were able to share with me, and it's been really a pleasure speaking with you.
Well, thank you. And tell me now, where are you going to put this? Where does it go from here?
This video will be made part of the archives in the Historical Society. You will get a copy mailed to your home for your own personal keepsake.
Wonderful. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I really do.
Thank you.
I mean, it's wonderful to do this. It really is.
Well, we felt it was important to document the history of the South Africans that had come to Dallas. It's a large group.
It's a very large group.
We have a very interesting history as a group of people. You've added so much to the Jewish community here.
Well, I think it's wonderful that you're doing that, because it's something that down the road will be very, very interesting for the next generation.
Absolutely.
No question about it. Well, I'm glad we did this.
I am too. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Good night.